He thought camping alone in the snowy mountains would bring peace, until someone started texting him from the dark woods, watching his every move. Story 1. The Camper Who Was Followed. This happened to me back in 2020, right when COVID was shutting the world down. Everyone was stuck inside, but I'm a backpacker and love camping. So I used this time to visit national parks and camp in nature. One of those trips took me to a quiet creek in Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado. Without saying too much, I'll just share that something happened at my job in 2019. It ruined my reputation, and a lot of people ended up hating me. It got so bad that I had to move, change my number, and quit my job. A lot of people lost money because of my mistake, so I understood the anger. But I didn't expect it to get so serious. For months, I got random calls and texts. Some were threatening. I didn't know if it was one person using many numbers or multiple people. Eventually, it stopped. I was relieved. That's when I decided to take a break and go camping. I drove about 3 hours to the park, parked my truck, and started hiking. It was winter, so the ground had a thin layer of snow. No one else was around, probably because of the lockdown and the cold. When I reached the creek, I found a quiet spot off the trail and set up my tent. I started a fire, cooked some sausages, and relaxed with a book. Later, I rolled a joint and began smoking. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. I don't usually get many texts, so I checked it right away. It was a bunch of messages from an unknown number with a 203 area code, from Connecticut. My heart sank. The first message said, "How's your camping going, buddy?" Then, "It's beautiful out here." And finally, "I see why you came up here." That's when the panic hit. Someone knew where I was. They weren't guessing, they were nearby. I stood up, looking around with my headlamp. The snow crunched under my boots as I spun in circles, scanning the dark woods. I grabbed my gun from my bag and kept it close. Normally, I'd put out the fire before sleeping, but I was too scared of being in total darkness. I crawled into the tent and waited. My phone stayed silent, no replies. I tried reading, then switched to watching YouTube videos, but my nerves were shot. Finally, a new text came in. "Doesn't matter anymore," I replied. "How did you know I'm camping?" But again, no response. That's when things got worse. I heard footsteps in the snow, getting closer. They stopped just outside my tent, maybe 6 feet away. Then a flash. It looked like someone either took a picture or briefly shined a flashlight at the tent. Then I got a message, a photo of my tent, followed by, "Have a good night's sleep." Fear turned into adrenaline. I unzipped the tent and fired 2 shots into the air. I heard footsteps running away. It worked. The person fled. I screamed threats into the night and went back into the tent. That was the last I heard from them. No more footsteps. No more texts. I stayed awake for hours. Eventually, I fell asleep. Waking up to sunlight was a huge relief. I don't think that stalker expected me to have a gun. That was the only time I ever fired it. But whatever it was, it scared them off. It's been almost 5 years now. I've never been bothered again. Still, that was the most terrifying night of my life. Story 2. Screams in the Woods. Every October, my family used to go to my Uncle Jim's big house in northern Michigan. It was on 4 acres of land, surrounded by woods. One year, me, my brother Adam, and cousins Jake and Joe decided to camp out in the woods behind the house. We were kids, around 9 to 13 years old. Our dads were a little drunk and said yes to our idea. They even helped us carry a big tent into the forest, and showed us how to set it up. It was far enough that we couldn't see the house anymore. After everything was ready, we went back to the house, had dinner, then returned to the tent for the night. At first, everything was fun. We played Uno by flashlight and laughed. Then we heard a scream in the distance. It sounded like a girl. We stopped and looked at each other. I told them it might be a fox, since foxes can sound like screaming women. That calmed everyone down, and we kept playing. But then it happened again, louder and closer this time. This time it sounded more human. We turned off our flashlights and got into our sleeping bags, frozen in fear. Then we heard footsteps running toward the tent. They stopped right outside. Suddenly, the tent shook violently, and we heard a terrifying scream, right next to us. We all panicked and screamed. I unzipped the tent, and we ran into the woods with our flashlights, screaming all the way back to the house. Our whole family was outside, alarmed by our screams. But our girl cousins and my sister were already in bed. That's when we realized someone else was in the woods. Our dads grabbed rifles and searched, but found no one. The next day, we packed everything up and never camped there again. After that night, we didn't even go outside after dark. Whoever was outside our tent, they weren't part of our family. Story 3. Something was in the woods with us. 2 years ago, my dad and I went camping deep in the countryside. The spot we picked was peaceful, with hiking trails and even a few zip lines. It had a deep history too. It used to be Native American land. The first night was great. Families were nearby, campfires lit the night, and we roasted marshmallows. But the second night was different. A park worker told us we were the only ones left in the whole campground. We were excited at first. It sounded like a dream. We spent the day hiking and even listened to a scary podcast by the river for fun. But later, as we walked back to camp, we felt weird. The forest seemed off. The air was heavy. My dad said, "Doesn't it feel like a dream?" He was right. That night, we sat by the fire. It got darker and quieter. Then we heard it, a loud bang, like a tree falling. It came from the river, just a short distance away. We grabbed flashlights but saw nothing. Then we heard another bang, and another, each one getting closer. After the fourth bang, we ran into the tent and threw extra firewood on the fire. Just as my dad was climbing into the tent, we heard the loudest bang yet. The ground shook. My dad stared into the dark and said, "It's standing there." I asked, "What is?" He said, "I don't know." Then came the strangest sound, a low vibration, like a hum. But it wasn't just a sound, we could feel it inside us. Our chests felt tight. We didn't move. Then came a new sound, not animal, not human, something alien. It reminded me of the Demogorgon from Stranger Things. We were frozen, too scared to breathe. I had a small window next to me, but I didn't dare look outside. Then, we both blacked out. We don't remember falling asleep. We just woke up lying in the tent. Both our phones were dead, even though they were fully charged the night before. The fire had burned out. The food was untouched. Everything felt wrong. We packed up quietly and didn't speak until we were in the car. We both agreed, something was in the woods that night. Something that wasn't human. We haven't gone camping since, and we never plan to again.